man talk? Is that it? Thank you. Hi, I'm Danny. I'm an alcoholic. Hello, everybody. Especially to this side of the room for some reason. I don't know why. I'd like to first, of course, thank the committee for doing such a beautiful job and all the people that have been so warm to me since I've gotten here last night. Where did he go? But this guy's hard to keep an eye on. This guy's like 10 people. Let's all thank Bob for doing one heck of a job. To inviting me here and to many engaging conversations we've had. And thank you. Let's see, who else do I need to thank? I'd like to thank the people that are speaking with me, especially June, who I finally got to meet today. And thank you for my sponsor for bringing me along, but we'll get to you. So before I start, June and I were on a panel earlier, and it was fun with the big book. Pick your best line your favorite line out of the big book. And of course, being third, my line was already chosen twice. Because it's on page 132. We absolutely insist on enjoying life. Oh, we have an interpreter tonight, don't we? Are you interpreting? Oh, good. Yes. Okay. So there was something I thought about. Since I didn't get a chance really to talk about that because somebody else did, I would like to share with you a little story for June and just a way to settle in. A true story regarding that line in the book. So my sponsor had been working with me for many years, in and out, in and out, in and out. I couldn't put 2 days together. And so I think I had about 3 months or something like that, and I went over to do a little book work with him at his office, at his house. And he was on the phone either talking to, I don't know, the Prince of Arabia or a governor or probably trying to help somebody to an intervention or something like that. So he's over my shoulder, he's behind on his computer. And there's this bookcase in his office, and it's got all these beautiful Buddhist books and Zen books, and then there's all these AA books, and then there's the book. It's the one he's traveled around the world with and taught the steps with. So I want to hold the book, right? Now, if I get a chance to pick up your big book, I'll ask you, can I look at your big book? And I'll turn to page 132 just to see if you have it highlighted, if we have that in common. Right? So I think when I take this book out now, that the bookcase, like in Young Frankenstein, is going to flip around, or sirens are going to go off, because it's the book. So I take it out, nothing happens. I look over my shoulder, I turn to page 132. Not only is it highlighted, there's a black pen square, real big, and it says in the margin, this is Danny's favorite line in the big book.
Come on.
And then an arrow straight down, and it says, Danny is your favorite sponsee. I turned into like one of those, those animated Asian cartoons with the big eyeballs, like, oh, God. And I close it real quick, and I don't want him to see I know that. So then I go around for about 4, 5, 6, 7 years, and I would share it with my little inner circle and make them promise the most solemn promise they could ever give. Earl could never know that you know this, or something bad will happen to both of us, or whatever. And I tell them this story. So now fast forward, Earl's getting ready to move to Scottsdale, I don't know, sometime last year. And now I've put some years together. I'm a little more confident. It's daylight. And I go walk up. He's on the phone again helping somebody. And I just whip the book out. Now I want to see it. I just want, you know what I mean? I want to see favorite, Because don't you think you're your sponsor's favorite? Of course. Make them tell you in front of your sponsee sisters and brothers. Why not? So I turn to it. In the daylight, and I look at it, and sure enough, there it is. I didn't dream it up. But then I notice on closer inspection with many years of sobriety, it's my handwriting. I wrote that. I wrote that to remind him, don't forget, by the way, this is your favorite sponsee's favorite line. I showed it to him. It's a true story. And that story was for you, June. Rather quickly, rather slowly. So, did I mention I'm an alcoholic? I am an alcoholic. So, my father was a colonel in the Air Force. I had two brothers. I'm the middle. I'm the scapegoat. I'm the target. Everything was my fault, right? And the first thing I'm going to identify with you is the same thing I've ever heard every speaker in AA say. I always felt different, right? My first tool for living was I wanted out. I wanted out of the house, out of the car, out of the family, out the window, out the bedroom. I have landed on the wrong planet wearing the wrong Earth suit. Something is wrong here. Right? And I would see people getting along and having conversations and having friends, and I just didn't get it. And then my next tool for living was my father was very free with his hands and used to beat me with belt buckles and extension cords. And so I learned that at an early age, if you hit something hard enough and enough times, it will agree with you or leave you alone. And that's what I had going for me. Right, for the first 12 years of my life. But long before I ever took a drink, I was seeing counselors and psychiatrists, and they kept asking me the same thing that all of you have heard. What is wrong with you? What's wrong with you? I don't know. You have so much potential. If only you'd apply yourself, right? We've all heard that. Thank God, 12 years old, I'm living in Washington, D.C., my father was stationed at the Pentagon, and went out to this baseball dugout, right? And I had really long hair. I was a freak, right? And the only thing I really had going for me was I could play the drums, right? I was going to be the next John Bonham. And I had never had a drink. I had never had a sip of anything, nothing. But I smoked Camel cigarettes for about, 3 or 4 years by then. And they started passing around, I was 12 years old, they started passing around a bottle of Boone's Farm strawberry wine. And as my sponsor would say, no grapes involved, right? It was not one of those little, it was a big, big bottle. And for us professional drunks, that's just Boone's Farm. But if you're 12 years old, it's like gasoline, right? And I took that bottle and I drank the whole thing, man. It was mine, right? And that thing happened. That thing happened immediately. I felt funny, handsome, engaging, charming, taller. And the only thing that had changed is that alcohol was in my body. And then I started throwing up the way that we throw up. You know what I mean? You know when you expect to see your socks come out, you know? And I thought while I was throwing up, I was thinking, man, if this doesn't kill me, man, this is going to happen again. This will happen again. And then the next thing that happened, now this is Alcoholics Anonymous. I absolutely love and respect Alcoholics Anonymous and singleness of purpose. But here's what happened next. Somebody handed me a joint. Now this was a long time ago. It wasn't like the weed they have now that NASA is making, you know? Yeah, where one hit can cure cancer, you know what I mean? You had to get a record album and clean the seeds out, right? Or a shoebox. I can tell by the laughter you guys have cleaned a little bit of that smokable alcohol, huh? So the person that rolled my joint didn't get that memo. Now I see the joint going around, you know, and they're not smoking it like a cigarette, you know. But if you're an alcoholic and you see somebody doing something, you can't say, excuse me, but I've never done that. And I was wondering if you could tell me what it is exactly you're doing. You have to pretend as if I have done this before, even if it's like jumping from one rooftop to another or whatever, right? So the joint comes around. I am going to take the biggest hit off of a joint that anyone's ever took in the history of time. Pop! The seed pop stuck to my forehead. I'm standing there covered in my strawberry vomit, chunks of vomit on me, and we're all looking at my forehead on fire, right? We're all like, whoa. And I'm thinking, well, that could be part of the thing, you know? I was a little disappointed, actually, when it didn't happen the next time. And that was my first day of drinking and using, and it didn't really ever get much better than that from there. So 12 years old, yeah. So I graduated immediately to stronger alcohol, and then of course I found second all and two in all, and like things that made me feel like rubber. Now you remember, my first tool for a living is out. All I want is out, right? I just want out. And I'll just put anything in me that can take me out of right here, right now. Because right here, right now, forget it. I'm done. I don't want to be here. I definitely don't want to be me, right? And I'm still getting messages at home that, I'm still getting, something happened to me. I was getting a beating one day, and some switch went off in me. And I thought, you're never going to see me cry again. Never. And I learned how feelings do not belong in this body. If you're new and you're starting to get sober and you're wondering what's wrong, those are called feelings. That's all that is. And I got good news for you. Being newly sober is not what being sober feels like. It gets way better, or we wouldn't be here, would we? So I went to reform school and really started learning how to do bad things in a better way, and we moved to Texas. My father became the inspector general for the Air Force, and I found Southern Comfort, improperly named. No one was ever comfortable when I drank Southern Comfort. But, what it was is it had that shape to it, that pint of Southern Comfort was shaped curved. You could stick it in your boot, and fit in there. So, means and methods, right? So let's see, I'm living in Texas. I'm going to reform school. I'm not taking beatings anymore because I'm leaving all the time. And my older brother, he's gone off to the Navy. My little brother, he's like the mascot. He can do no wrong, And the only thing I had, when I moved around a lot in the Air Force, like I'd go to 3 schools in one semester, right? And they'd pass around these index cards. I always remember these yellow index cards. What do you want to be when you grow up? I never said I would like to be on a 5150. Do you guys have 5150s here? Yeah. It's called a 3-day, 72-hour involuntary hold. Oh, yeah, we got those. How many people have been on one of them? Oh, yeah. I'm guessing some of you are not willing to raise your hand. I never said I wanted to do that. I never said I want to be a newcomer with such a sense of impending doom that I can't make it through the door with the greeters on the front door. I never said that. I said I want to be a baseball player. I want to be a drummer. I want to be something. I had plans and I had dreams. But like it says in our beautiful book on page 82, the alcoholic is like a tornado roaring through life, right? Alcoholism didn't care that I had those dreams. Alcoholism took everything away from me that I ever planned on. So the next bullet point that I'd like to share with you. So I had this gift, right? I had time. I could, when people can't dance, you can't teach them. You either can or you cannot. It's just time. And I was given that gift, right? So I had that going for me. So I had this set of drums when I was living in Texas. None of it matched. It was a pawn shop drum set, right? It's like a Frankenstein drum set. Oh, by the way, when I got out of jail in San Antonio, my family moved to the Philippines. Listen to you. That only happens in AA. Right? If I had said that, a child out in the world and his whole family moved out of the country, and if I said that at the Kiwanis Club, they would say, oh. But in AA, ha 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 ha! Did you try to commit suicide too? And we talk about it on that same page. If the newcomer couldn't hear laughter and cheerfulness, why would we stay? We get to laugh about it now. Because isn't it great being outside the bathroom? Awesome. Huh? Your kids know where you are. You know where they are. Huh? Where's the people in treatment tonight? Some people in treatment here tonight? Where you at? There you go. Breathing farts and feet. There you go. Awesome. Better than what you had, huh? Something's happened to me I don't understand. You better hang on to it because anything's better than what you used to have, right? Anything. If you're brand new and you don't know what's going on in here, I bet it's better than what was behind you 6 days ago or 2 weeks ago. So just stay. So where was I? Oh, yeah. So I was in, my whole family moved, and all I had was, I had music and using lots of things. I was using, as somebody in this room taught me, I was using other things besides, maybe you're new and maybe you're having a hard time identifying with Bill's story. Maybe you say, you know what, I didn't just drink, I liked smokable alcohol. I like snortable alcohol. I like pill form alcohol. I like injectable alcohol. It's all anti-me medication, right? It doesn't matter what it is. It's designed to do the same thing. Take me out of right here, right now, right? Spending thousands of dollars trying to get to zero. The absence of pain, right? Trying to get there, right? Where that last, all I have is right before I pass out, that last maybe 3 minutes of blackout, right? If you're new and you hear the laughter, that's a bunch of people going, me too, me too, me too. Right? So I got a set of drums. I don't know if there's any other liars in the room. But I used to lie so much that I have fond memories of things that never happened to me. Never. You're in the middle of telling somebody a story too. You're telling them, hey, and you're thinking while you're telling the story, I don't even really know if this happened. But anyway. Yeah. And it gets more dangerous and more exciting every time you tell it. I love when there's a translator. I like throwing a word in there that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, like chainsaw. So here's the true part of this story. Rod Stewart was having an audition. This is a long time ago. This is how I got to California. Rod Stewart's having an audition for a drummer. So I take my drums and I go Greyhound, leave the driving to us, right? And they got that little patch underneath the bus. I put all my drums, no cases, none of them match. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to become Rod Stewart's next drummer wearing everything I own, right? But unfortunately, that's the true part of the story. And this is true also. When I got to the downtown LA bus depot Greyhound, unfortunately next door, there was an open all-night pawn shop. And I drank again my hopes and my dreams. But I told so many people that I played drums for Rod Stewart that when I hear Hot Legs on the radio, I admire my own drumming. Swear to God's truth. I'm sure somebody's walked up to him and said, I know one of your drummers you had. Who the hell is this Danny D? So here I am now in California. I got nothing. I'm in Hollywood. And I got no drums now. That's really a good thing, right? A drummer with no drums. Not very popular at the auditions, And right around this time, I had to make a decision. I had to find some craft, something to do, and it was either plumbing or electrical. I needed something, and at the time, those were the two highest paying things because I saw a guy working on a meter or something. And 39 years later, I'm still an electrician. It has served me very well. It was one of the smartest things. Obviously, I take no credit for it because of something smart that worked out. Right around that same time in Hollywood, I walked into this bar. You know those divey bars, right? You ever see Barfly? You guys ever see that movie? Barfly, Faye Dunaway, Mickey Rourke. You know all those bars that they were in? I loved bars like that. Just so dark. And the only light was the colored light coming from behind the bottle. The bottles looked like little hookers up on the shelf. You know what I mean? And this woman that was bartending in this bar, she looked so out of place. She looked like Marilyn Monroe. And she taught me how to drink 2/5 of Gilby's gin before breakfast and exactly what to eat without ruining the buzz and without throwing up. And to me, that was like the smartest person I ever met in my life. You know what I mean? And I admired that, so I married her. It's all I needed. And unfortunately, here we all sit, a room full of dead people, right? That probably have no business. Well, we know our business why we're here. I know why. I used to say I don't know why I'm here. I know why I'm here. There's a whole chapter about it in the big book. It's called Working with Others. But I don't know how it is how I'm here, right? She was killed on the back of a Harley Davidson in 1985 or something like that while I was out gallivanting around. Why that wasn't me? I have no answers for that. Now, nobody's ever told me as I'm going in and out of these jails and psychiatrists and counselors, and a lot of bad things are happening to me, and still people are asking me, why do you do that? Why do you do that? Why do you choose alcohol over her? That's your soulmate. You're never going to have another chance like that. Look at that job you just lost. Look at the chance you just had. Look at that band you just got kicked out of. It was not my choice. I was always confused, paralyzed of why I consider myself a pretty bright guy. I mean, I could bring the power to this entire hotel, no problem. But when it came to not drinking, not being able to be able to make a decision to not do that, I just could not do it, and I didn't know why, and no one ever told me why. And it wasn't until I read the doctor's opinion where it said that I have an allergy of the body, and it says right after that, it would explain a lot. Oh, an allergy. No one ever told me that. So a lot of different things happened. Now I'm in San Francisco. It's like 1982. I'm wearing everything I own. I have holes in my teeth. I have mats in my hair. My mantra is never. Never. I'm never going to be anything. I'm never going to have nothing. You get to have a wife. You get to have the beautiful house. You get to have friends. You get to have a job. I know, and I was told, I'm never going to have anything. I was told when I was 11, you'll never have the capacity to love and receive love. So you know what I did? I punched him in the face. But can you imagine somebody telling an 11-year-old that? And I believed that. I knew that I deserved, in my soul, I knew that I deserved the life that I had. You're leaving before the miracle. It's going to be a miracle if I don't leave. Okay. So, I remember when I talk about this part of my life is I remember if I could panhandle enough money to get a room for the night in the Tenderloin of San Francisco at Kinney and Leavenworth and the Kinney Hotel at Eddy and Leavenworth, I would rip the mirror off the wall, or I'd take soap and soap it up, or I'd break it because I couldn't stand my own reflection. I hated me. I remember coming out of, being hogtied or 5150, and the first thing I was so disappointed. I was always too chicken to kill myself, but I didn't mind if what I was doing right now killed me. I was fine with that. And every time I came out of hogtied or came to somewhere, I was so disappointed that I was still alive, and especially disappointed that I was me. I remember just sitting there looking at people thinking, I would trade places with anybody right now. I just want to be anyone other than me. And don't worry, the story has a happy ending. So it was getting a little grim in the room. So what's happening with me is I'm sleeping on the streets, I'm living on the streets of San Francisco, I'm not attached to a single soul on the planet. I have no idea where my family is. If I died, the only people it would affect is the people that had to zip me up in a bag and carry me away. No one would have known. It would have made no difference on the planet. And I probably looked like I was easily 30 years older than I was. I was iodine I was drinking, 79-cent wine, back to the wine with no grapes, and drinking Night Train. The best thing I could do to get a drink at this point was either run into a liquor store when the guy wasn't looking, because they don't refrigerate the Night Train or the MD 2020. It's sitting on the shelf next to the mayonnaise, okay? Run out. And it's terrible, but it does the job. It doesn't make the screaming go away, but it makes it about 50 feet back here, to where you can't hear it say, kill yourself. But, I'm just never, my mat of hair is in my face. I'm staring at my shoes. I can't make eye contact with you. If I make eye contact with you, you know what a low life I am. You know I don't deserve anything. The only time I look at you is if I'm trying to manipulate you. Because if you don't look somebody in the eye when you're trying to manipulate them, they'll think you're trying to manipulate them. Right? And then the other thing I could do to get a drink was I would go, now, long time ago, did you know that there are some people that don't finish their drink? Can you believe that? When you go out, when we go out with a normie, and you're sitting there eating, and it's like an hour into it, and they still got that, and you're like, are you gonna finish it? And there are some people that would take a cigarette and throw it in a drink. And there are some foolish people that think that drink is no longer good. So I would go into a bar in San Francisco, 10 to 2, that beautiful magical area in a bar where the brass rail is, where the waitress gets service. And you go in there 10 to 2, and I have 2 Tupperwares, this big, empty, inside each other. And I go over there, and she goes out, and she brings all the drinks that have the cigarette butts in them and whatever. Oh, listen. You hear that? Really? Really? You used to sniff stuff off of a toilet in a bathroom. And now we get sober, we're like, is that filtered water? That's gluten-free, right? Oh, yeah. In an alley, behind a Chevron, guys, put something in your hand, you go home, right? Drink whatever, So I take all these drinks, and I put them in the pitcher, and I go out in the alley, and I take my urine-soaked T-shirt, I'm wearing everything I own, and I put the empty one under there, and I strain everything out of there, right? And some people call that pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. I call it a Long Island tea. Right? Genius. Keen alcoholic thinking. When I was taking a toilet apart off the thing just to get a syringe that was stuck inside there, nowhere in my brain did anybody ever say, dude, what are you doing? My innermost self was also desperate. There was no voice that would say, and if it did, it would say, what do you think I'm doing? Trying to get out of right here, right now. Right? So, yeah, that's what I was doing, So I'm living on the streets, and the only human contact I'm having at this point is when the cops have you right here. They got you right here, and they interlock your fingers with the one hand, and then they do this, right? And they gotta get your hand from here to here, right? A lot of stuff can happen from there to there, huh? Didn't you hate? I hated when that one guy would show up in my brain that would think, maybe I don't feel like going to jail tonight. I hated that guy. Like, dude, please don't show up. No! I didn't mean that. Boom, boom, boom. That's the human contact I'm having. Being patted down, or when I'm sleeping in the doorway on Market Street or in Civic Center, right, where they kick you in the feet. They don't touch winos. You don't touch a wino. You kick their feet. Can't get up. Right? So I'm hiding in this phone booth. Where's the young people at? Do you know we used to have phone booths? Do you know that? We used to have a machine you could put money in and call somebody. And guess what happened if they weren't home? Phone just rang and rang. They didn't even know. They were just out eating their food, not taking pictures of it, making people look at their dessert. Right? Hey, if you wanted to see a picture of their sleeping cat, you had to go to their house. A little Facebook joke. So I'm hiding in a phone booth. I'm hiding in a phone booth because I can't stand people seeing me. It's daylight now. I like the night because you can't see what a terrible human being I am, that I'm never going to amount to anything, that I'm nothing, that I had so much potential if only I'd apply myself, that I'll never have the capacity to love or receive love, that I'm just a piece of you know what. That's what I feel like. I didn't deserve the chair in this room, let alone the air in here, you know? And I knew it. So I'm hiding in this phone booth, and I hid in there all the time, right? And somebody put a bumper sticker in there that says, I always remember it in the movie voice guy. Got a drinking problem? Call Alcoholics Anonymous. And so you could call collect. And I called, and this woman answered. I could still hear her. She,
Alcoholics Anonymous, this is Judy.
you know, and the only thing I could say, if I wasn't screaming at you, all I could say was, you know, I wasn't in charge of the machine anymore, right? I was just crying. And she asked me, through all of this, could I make it to Bush and Goff Street, which is way up here? And Civic Center Park is down here. Now, if you're an alcoholic and there's not a drink at the end of this trip, that's a long, long, long way. Isn't it amazing? Every one of us in here will roller skate in the rain for a drink, right? That snow last night, would that have stopped you without a coat to get to the liquor store? No. But isn't it funny when you start sponsoring somebody and you say, have you read the doctor's opinion yet? And they're like, dude, bro. You know, really? It blows my mind in working with others. It says, seeing your prospect for the second time, he has read the entire volume. Really? Crazy. So I go up to my meeting. I never heard of AA. Nobody ever mentioned Alcoholics Anonymous to me. In all the places I ever been, they said you have to get in touch with your inner child, you have to forgive your father, blah, 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 blah. No one ever said you have a drinking problem, you should try Alcoholics Anonymous. Never even heard of it. So I'm walking up there, just, you know, not knowing what to expect. And, you know, many people I'm sure have been here. You ever walk into a bar and you're 86th from the bar and you don't even remember having ever been there before? You know, like you say, you. Out, right? And you're like, right? So I walk in my first AA meeting, and this guy's an eclipse, a human eclipse. He's 6'9" easy, right? Football material. And he stops what he's doing, he sees me, he starts running towards me. And I think, uh-oh, I've been here before. You know what I mean? Now keep in mind, I look like a chick on speed, right? I'm a size none. I'm like, and I think in my brain, I still think I'm Clint Eastwood, right? Pale, I'm a tough guy. I tell him, don't do it. What? Come on. And he does the last thing that I expect. If he wanted to fight, I'd have been fine with that. If he told me, get out of here, I would have said, of course. But you know what he did? He hugged me. He said, I love you. And as he started reaching, I said, don't do it. Don't do it. And he gave me this big hug like this, right? And he put me back down, and I said, don't ever do that again. But inside, you know, I couldn't even remember the last time somebody touched me. And then what happened is this woman who looked like Florence Henderson, Google it. She's Mrs. Brady. She was like the epitome. There you go, right in your row right there. There's a bunch of moms, right? If you've lost your dad, you lost your child, you lost your son, you lost your uncle, you lost your mom, we got them here. We got moms, we got dads, we got brothers, we got the family you never had. We got the family. Don't start. Oh. This woman walked up to me. All she was missing was a plate of cookies. And she came up to me, man, and she came up to me and she put her arms around me and she said, Danny, you never have to feel like you're feeling if you don't want to, and you don't have to do what you're doing to yourself. And the mud that I was trying to hold in, it just burst. I just turned into a puddle, man, and I just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. So I went back to that room every night for like 4 or 5 nights a week, and every time I'd walk in, right, I knew it was going. Every time I walk in, that big dude would see me, come running over, right, and I'd be, right. There's nothing. I was completely powerless, It was like having 12 sheriff deputies on me, choking me out. There was nothing I could do about it. To stay in that room, I had to get a hug from that man. Which reminds me, I want a hug from every single person in this room. And he will tell you right now that I was never that guy who would say that. I want, especially the dudes. And I don't want any of those macho, those dude hugs, the wham, wham, wham. Please don't do that. Don't hit my back. Don't pick me up. I've had motorcycle accidents, okay? Just give me a nice hug. That's my paycheck. Give me a hug. Because AA has afforded me to be the loving, gentle man that I've always meant to be. And we'll get to that. But so this guy comes running up to me, man, and he gives me a hug every time. Every time. One time, I think I'm going there for like 3 weeks now. And the only two people I would talk to, that woman would come give me a hug, say, okay, and I'd just be so scared, sitting back there, I wish somebody would hug me. But you don't know, how do you ask for that? I didn't come from a place where you asked for that. You didn't discuss feelings, None of that was coming out. It was just, So this guy comes up to me, it's like 3 weeks I'm going there, this guy comes, big guy is standing over there talking to somebody else. And he doesn't come and hug me. And I'm like, hey, give me a hug. Now I don't care. Big guys, you hug me, I lift my leg up like that. Nuzzle. Ask you where you work out. So I went in and out for a few years, and I started, then in 1985, I started 8 years of I sponsor myself untreated alcoholism. Right? You've seen the people at the meetings, right, with a big rope for a vein sticking on their forehead, right? Yeah, do you want what I have? No thanks, bro. You go ahead and keep that. One of the best definitions I've ever heard for a sponsor was from my sponsor. A definition of a good sponsor is somebody who looks like they have what they want. Right? Comfortable in the space that they're taking up. Right? When I hear that in the promises, we would know and comprehend the meaning of the word peace. What? Oh, yeah. And a Pegasus will fly through the room. Peace? That costs at least $600, right? So yeah, I would just go to meetings. All I would do is go to meetings. I would show up at the meeting 10 to 15 minutes late. Didn't want to talk to you. Didn't care about your damn day. Screw you. Get to the meeting and leave early. Didn't want to talk to you, right? I'm not doing any of those other things. I'm not helping anybody. All I'm helping is me, right? Me. Nothing's changing. And I spent 8 years like that. I was crazier than any newcomer in this room, trust me. I'd become one of those big dudes, when you're so big, only another big dude thinks you look good. You know what I mean? Hey, nice biceps. Thanks, bro. And it was going to happen. I'm getting in fist fights all the time. My mantra was, I'd walk around all day and I'd just say, I hope you have a problem and I hope you want to do something about it. That was me. 8 years without a drink in me. So I went to a meeting, and I told AA you didn't work. And I didn't know about AA. I didn't know, this is AA. I don't even think I owned a book, okay? I definitely didn't have a sponsor. So I parked my bike in the doorway of this meeting, so I dared people to touch it. And I told you, when you go online and you read about people that say terrible things about AA, that don't know anything about us, call us a cult and all that. If this is a cult, I love this cult, right? This is the only cult that's ever saved my life, cared about me, Join the cult. And I told them, I gave them all the finger, and I said things that I won't say from this podium, and I went out and I stayed out there, and during this time, in the back of my brain, I knew I had seen that there was another way to live, but I knew it was never going to happen to me. Never was still my mantra. And boy, man, in less than a year, I broke both of my heel bones. I shattered both of my heel bones one night. That was just a night for me. one night, right? Instead of being a drummer, I'd become a singer. I was with this great guitar player from Zappa and this just a great band, great bass player from Celine. I had a great band. I had the chance to get the brass ring. If I had got the brass ring, I would have taken it to the pawn shop, okay? Because alcoholism had other plans for me. Because me and alcohol showed up to this big gig at the same time. And during this time, I remember I would wake up in the morning or come to, and all I owned was a Honda Civic, a red-nosed pit bull named Brooklyn, and my tools to be able to work. Work was the glue that held me together. And you know how the book talks about it? For some reason, it seems like we men have this ability or this luck or whatever it is that the book says to have amazing, beautiful women in our life that we definitely don't deserve. And I'd like to take this time right now to thank you, Al-Anon, for loving us. Thank you so much. If you're one of those people that was like me the first time you saw that chapter, two wives, and thought, I've never been married, I called two wives to anybody that ever tried to love me. And I had this girlfriend, her name was Victoria Smart. And a beautiful woman who had her act together, but she loved me. I remember I used to lose respect for a girl that would love me. That low self-esteem was a goal for me, okay? I thought so low of myself that if you cared for me, I thought, boy, do you have no picker, What's wrong with you? But let's see how long this ride lasts. So I'm living at Vicky's house, and I truly, really did care for her. And when I'd get home from work, I'd sit outside in Venice on her stoop, and I would begin my night between work and bedtime. 10 king-size Corona, a quarter ounce of OG Kush that NASA grew, and a handful of Klonopin. If you never took Klonopin, it's like Valium with a cape, right? And that was just a night for me. And every night, Vicky would come around in her car. She went to meetings all the time. And you know what I thought of AA at the time? I thought, she'd pull around, and she didn't say, get in the car, you're going, and she'd just undo her little window. Her little window would go down, she'd go, I'm going to a meeting tonight, Danny. And rah, 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 go ahead with those book-thumping, lip-flapping, plastic phony, have fun, blah. And she'd just go, okay, drive off. Good. Never going to be me. I'm never going to know what it's like to take a sober breath. I'm never going to make it. I'm going to die like this, right? And one night she pulled around. She undid the window and she started naming and listing the things that she was affording me. You can keep, Danny, you like living here? Oh, you can keep living here. Do you like that I feed your dog? I'll keep feeding your dog. Do you like making love to me and sleeping in my bed? Yes, you can keep doing that. I'll keep cooking for you and washing your clothes. If you get in the car and go to a meeting with me tonight, and if you don't, it all stops. Guess what I did? Got in the car. If I had not got in that car tonight, I guarantee you would have a different speaker for your opening tonight. I got in that car. Now, maybe you can relate. Before I get to where she took me, I want to talk about the loser balloon. I've always had a loser balloon. My first recollection of the loser balloon was junior high school, 7th grade dance. They would line up all the girls on one side, and then all the dudes would be on this side. And the guy would have to do a very courageous act. Walk all the way across and say, would you like to dance? And she says, I don't like this song. Loser balloon. Now the whole school gets to see. She turned him down. She said no, she rejected him. What a loser. Right? So Vicky takes me into rodeo. She takes me to rodeo on a Friday night. Easily twice this big. It's just a regular, right? 800 people. Dolce & Gabbana, Jimmy Choo, Prada, veneered teeth, all doing better than all of us, right? And there I am, with my loser balloon. I know I'm never going to be one of these people. I'm never going to have this. You know when you're miserable too, how just unbearable all this chit chat and joy is? Oh my God. Ugh. So I'm sitting about maybe past that column right there at the meeting. And Vicki took me to hear this guy talk. Never heard of him, never hear him speak, never met him before. And this guy, he started talking. You know when you see, like, I'm a director's buff. I love cinema photography, you know. You know when you do a close-up, and it's not just a normal close-up, but they move the people up too? That's what happened to me. He started talking, and it was like, no one else was in there. I was the only one in that room. You were talking to me. And for the first time ever in my life, like the Field of Dreams voice, I heard, maybe. Maybe. Maybe you can do this. Maybe you can get sober. Maybe you can be a father to your child. Maybe you don't have to die. Maybe it'll make a difference that you've been alive. Maybe is a beautiful, wonderful word, isn't it? It just opens up nothing but possibilities. Maybe. I heard it. I heard it so loud, I looked at the guy next to me like, did you hear that? Remember in Field of Dreams? Go the distance. I heard it like that, maybe. So now, you know, my sponsor is like the president, like trying to talk to him, you know what I mean? Like all these people, and I gotta wait. I gotta wait. Ugh. I gotta walk up. Remember, I'm holding my loser balloon. The balloon is gigantic, right? And I'm waiting in the bright, bright light, and I feel so out of place, so disheveled. But I got this little thing that's telling me, ask him, ask him, ask him. All right. Jesus. So finally he told the story tonight about how I asked him, but all I remember, I asked him to sponsor me. I said, help me, and he said yes. And we started the beginning of 15 years of him never giving up on me. Him waiting in line at the county jail for 7 hours to see me for 4 minutes, driving across the country to see me in an institution, walking into the hospital when they had a catheter in me, not telling me about AA, showing me AA. For the first time in my life ever, demonstrating to me that I was worthwhile. Showing me, no matter what. Not, you didn't call me for 6 days, so get another sponsor. None of that. That would have never worked. Are you kidding? Look where I came from. The only thing that was ever going to help me was kindness. That was the only thing that was going to get through this dude with the fists, right? You know, I heard this woman say, the only time I ever let go was to get a better grip. Boy, that was me, right? I just walked around. I was happy to pull you out of your car and just light you up. And every time I ever came to a crossroads in my life where I could make a choice where this is going to help me, I got in my way. Every time. Every single time. And it took that man, and it took Donald Madden not to give up on you, who didn't give up on me, who would find me every once in a while and just come give me that hug and squeeze me, reach into me and crack me open just to know that you can do it, Danny. It's not over. There's a seat for you here. And I love you more than a straight guy should love another man. You know, I didn't know I could, you know, it's such a strange feeling, you know. I remember you telling me that, I hope you tell that story Sunday about when you called Donald and told him you loved him, because I know what that's like. I'm like, it is such a foreign feeling. I mean, you know, when you're new, I totally get it when you're a dude and you're supposed to call another dude, right? You're like, hello, it's Jimmy, and well, I'm not asking you for anything to drink or drugs or a girl's number, so pretty much don't know what to say. Bye. I get that. When did we ever just do that, right? It's so foreign. And then to start developing, you know, usually the first person that we love around here is our sponsor, right? Am I right or not? Right? Everybody tonight, some point, call your sponsor. When they answer, just go, I love you, and hang up. Let them figure it out, right? And when I started feeling that feeling for the first time, it was so foreign to me because I couldn't remember ever feeling that feeling. You know, I don't, for moments, most of the time it was lust, you know, or things like that. It was never true, just love, no agenda, nothing attached to it. I just love you. And because you love me, and you love me the way I am. I don't have to play drums for Rod Stewart. I don't have to be a jet pilot. I don't have to lie and pretend I'm something else. I can just be enough just being me. Just a flawed human, right? So, this is how I joined AA. You want to hear how I joined AA? First of all, I'm going to give you the secret of how to stay sober and to battle the beast. Somewhere that my lineage is, of course, as you know, if you don't know so far who I'm talking about, my sponsor is Earl sitting in the front row right there. And his sponsor was the late, great Donald Madden. And his sponsor was Norm Alpe, and his sponsor was Chuck C., and his sponsor was Bill W. So that's my lineage. Somewhere along that line, yeah, let's hear it from my lineage. Yes. Just one man after another, not giving up on another man. That's all that is, right? And the ripple effect that it has, you know? That's why it's so important you're new. You have no idea who you're going to affect. There are people coming in that are not going to be able to hear me, but they're going to be able to hear you. For some strange reason, our sponsors, if they're good members of AA, they don't say anything different that other people do, but for some reason, we hear them. They speak our language, you know? What was I saying? Where was I? Huh? Joined AA. Okay, here's how I joined AA. I think that's where I was, right? I'd been to thousands of meetings, never felt a part of one of them. Every one of us in here know what that feels like, to feel completely alone in a room full of people, right? All of you, us and them, like the Pink Floyd song, right? Me and them. And I never felt a part of a group, right? And the only thing, so I went away to this government paid for vacation. And when I came out, my sponsor had moved to the valley. So I have to parole to the valley. There's no one else I have in the world. So I go to the valley, right? So he's part of this home group. It's called Good Old Sherman Oaks AA, right? The best AA meeting in the world, right? It's a do you have participation meetings here where you can't raise your hand, you gotta get called on? Do you guys have those? You know? Yeah, we had this meeting. You can't raise your hand, you gotta be called on. Perfect place to get a resentment. Oh, really? Another place where I'm not good enough. Fine. Whatever. Screw all of you, right? And you know, at these meetings, you know, there's always, they tell us to act better than they feel, but you know, if like they ask you, would you lead the meeting today, but whatever you do, don't call on Fred, he's nuts. But sometimes they forget and they call on Fred and the whole room goes, oh, right? I had become the guy not to be called on at my home group. They didn't even know my name. They referred to me as the angry dude that Earl sponsors, right? And, I got nothing. The only thing I believe in, I believe that he believes. All of you, you're all liars. But I believe that he believes, and that's all I got. Other than that, I'm just like, and I don't want to piss anybody off. I don't want to be mean to anybody because they're all of his friends, and it's the only place I have left to go, right? So I'm in this room, and the room's facing each other. That was really uncomfortable, you know, because when you're a dude and you lock eyes with another dude, for a minute you're like, what, you know? It's like, all this machismo. Now I'm the first guy to smile. You look at me, I just smile at you because I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. Squirm all you want, right? Squirm all you want, man. I lived that way long. It's so much nicer to be kind. Oh, took so long to find that out. Whew. You should have told me about that a long time ago. I used to get in so many fistfights. One of the first rules I had, Earl gave me, was we do not punch people in AA. Right? And he said, you do not give them looks to make them get up and leave a meeting. Oh, come on. But I'm so good at it. I have not had a physical altercation of any kind whatsoever since 1993, man. And that's pretty amazing, So anyway, this is how I joined AA, right? I'm going to thousands of meetings. I'm in this room. Greeters. Don't you have a hard time with greeters, right? This meeting only had one entrance and 6 greeters on either side, right? The toughest thing I've ever done besides ask a girl to dance is chit-chat with come on. I'd pull up and I could see the door from the parking lot and I think, not tonight, man. Because they're going to ask you these complex things like, how are you? If you're a greeter too, by the way, sometimes people, they'll greet you like 20 feet before. Do you have a seat? Do you have a sponsor? Do you have a big wig? You're like, dude, listen, if you see them and they're new and they look kind of scared, just make a little room and just let them come in, and just be gentle. Gentle works. Okay, so I'm at my home group, right? Earl saved me a seat. I'm sitting next to Earl, always sitting next. That's where I sit, right there. I'm sitting there. And this woman, this is how I joined AA. Never felt a part of. I'm still hearing the word maybe. Every time I'm around you, I heard the word maybe, and that was it. Other than that, I half believed it. And I'd watch you, by the way. Do you ever watch your sponsor without them knowing you're watching them? I'd be sitting there, right? Yeah, he usually have his hands like this, and I'd look out the corner of my eye, and I'd think, he really digs this stuff. He's a smart guy. He's very intelligent dude, and he believes this and this works. That's enough for me. That's all I got for a higher power. He believes. And the woman that was leading that night didn't get the memo to not call on the angry dude. And she said, would you like to share? And I turned to him and I said, can I say whatever I want? And he goes, go ahead. So I said, you're all a bunch of... All of you. Every one of you. I was almost standing up. Nobody was saying a word. And I said, as a matter of fact, if I was on fire right now, there ain't a one of you in here that would pee on me. Nobody said a word. And this woman, 2 rows behind me, Margie, she said, I'd pee on you, Danny. And right at that moment, that big chip I felt fell right off my shoulder. I swear to you, I felt my hands unclench, and that maybe turned into, I want to be in AA! Yes! I had that moment, but all by myself, yes! Everybody was cracking up, and I was laughing too, for the first time, laughing at my own expense. For the very first time, I was 48, 49 years old, and I had dragged myself through life with a sack of bricks on my shoulder, just angry at the whole world, at the universe. And I'm like, yes, I want to be in. I want to be. Like that. You know those kind of dogs when you go to somebody's house, they go, whatever you do, don't throw the ball. Right? You know what I mean? And I'm waiting for all the people to move away from him. And I'm gonna walk up to him, and I said the first time I ever asked him in 15 years, I said, dude, tell me what to do. And you know those guys that have the guys that just show you their neck? And we had this dude at our home group, they got the tattoos on their face like this, right? And they usually have those tattoos and say, what are you looking at? You know what I'm saying? I'm not making fun of anybody, it's just part of the story. So there's this guy leaning against the wall, right? And he's got muscles in his face, and all you see is his neck. All he's missing is a sign that says, don't talk to me. And I say to him, tell me what to do. And he says, go say hi to that guy. And in my brain, I thought, dude, look at him. But somehow, somewhere, I turned into Forrest Gump. I was like, okay. Walked over there. And that's what I've been doing. That's all I've been doing. Oh, I remember what I was talking about, the beast. And right. That's all I've been doing is contrary actions. I don't do what I would like to do, and I do what I don't want to do. Right? I am contrary action man. Right? So I remember complaining to him. I said, dude, the greeters, man, don't you think they're a little much? And he said, looks like a pretty good commitment for you. And my sponsor translator said, get that commitment or die. Okay. So I'm the greeter every Monday night with these people I can't stand, but I'm acting better than I feel. Hi, how you doing? Hope you don't share tonight. Yeah. Hey, welcome. You can die if you want. All right. And I did it. I showed up. I have never not showed up since then. I have been a cake chick, a secretary, an area service person, a speaker seeker, you name it. I have done it. I sponsor men. I do the deal. I do the deal. Because I'm thinking, if I want what that man has, I'm going to have to do what he does. Sounds like I'm going to be spending a lot of my life on airplanes. That's what it feels like. And I will. I will. It's never enough. I will spend the rest of my life trying to pay back a debt that I will never, ever, ever be able to repay. Ever. So there I am. I'm standing there greeting people, and I'm going to make a counteraction. Not only am I'm working at the W Hotel as an electrician, where I'm living in the valley. It's 100 million degrees. This summer we had 17 days in a row of triple-digit heat, right? And I'm not feeling the gift. You know that miracle they talk about? Not feeling it. Everything's a damn miracle here, isn't it? And it is. A miracle, something that defies logic. Here we are all taking sober breath, being kind and loving each other. Blows me away. So not only am I gonna go do my commitment, I'm gonna buy those jackasses donuts. Isn't it funny when you do something, you have to do it with So I take my little Ford Ranger, it's all beat up, got whiskey wrinkles all over it and all the dents from drinking. And I go to swipe my card at the ATM, and it says, please contact Financial Center. That's not good. That's never like, you have too much money, we need you to take some out. Bank's getting too big. I never paid my taxes. Ever. Why would I? I need every dime. I'm going to be dead tomorrow. Why would I pay my taxes, right? I got a levy put on me, so I call Earl up. I'm screaming. I'm punching my steering wheel so hard, I don't know how the bag didn't deploy. And he said, the only voice that I will say okay to says, Danny, let's just pay attention to your real life. Huh? What's that? What's happening right now? Just go to your commitment and go greet. And in my brain, dude, did you hear what I just said? I have the biggest problems in the world. Right? Drama we are, right? I'm never going to be able to eat again. They're going to throw me on the street and take my car, right? I'll have nothing. So I go to do my commitment, and I sit there and proceed. I have no money in the bank. I don't know how I'm going to feed myself or pay my rent, and I have to listen to rich people problems about how my 3-car garage door won't go down, and I have to sit there and just take it. But they're used to me there, So you fast forward a little bit. We'll come back to that. So what happened to me? I kept doing it. I kept doing it anyway. I kept going to the meetings anyway when I didn't feel like it. I was taught very early. Earl told me, you don't have to think it's a good idea and you don't have to like it. All you have to do is do it. And Danny, I remember one time we were driving. He's always been so gentle and loving to me, right? And one time he said, when you get this thing, recovery from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, when you get this, if you don't give it to another guy, you've been absolutely a waste of time. I was like, that's a little harsh. Wow. But he's right? The arrogance of me to come in here and get this and not give it to you, right? And so I began becoming part of. I made up this commitment for myself. You know how hard it is to talk? I don't know if you have a hard time socializing, man. I just didn't know how to do it without a drink in my hand. So I went to my Sunday night commitment and I made myself last man to leave. You never even knew about it. I made it up all by myself. Remember when Margie said she would pee on me? I knew that I want this thing. Something happened to me. Something happened, and we call it, I was separated from alcohol right then and there. A space got between me and alcohol. The obsession was removed. I have never, ever, ever, never thought ever, even when I'm behind a car and it smells like Snoop Doggy Dogs in front of me, right? Because, you got to think it through. I remember somebody was talking today at the panel about gym, Suddenly the thought crossed my mind that a little whiskey in my milk, right? If you go down 6 lines, it says, thus started another trip to the asylum for Jim. Right? So you're new and you're having a lot of bad ideas, right? Right? As Scott Redmond would say, tell us about the plan, right? Oh, we want to hear the plan. I'm telling you, if you sponsor enough people, you don't even need cable TV, man. It is, dude, it is the most humorous stuff. You're really, I got to put this on speaker and let everybody listen to this guy, man. He believes this. I know we just met last Wednesday, but I feel a connection, so we're moving in. Perfect. Right on. Hope it works out. You hear that laughter? Hey, man, U-Haul or booty call, right? My sponsor never told me not to get into a relationship in my first year. He never told me that. He said, don't misrepresent yourself. That's what you told me. And I've let that transcend into all of my relationships. I don't misrepresent myself. I've done a lot of work in my past. I used to manipulate people a lot. I don't do that. I don't have to do that. I don't like the way that feels. It feels good to do the right thing. I mean, after all I ever wanted was to feel good. Every time all I wanted was to feel better. You know what I've learned around here? Check this out. When you do the right thing, it feels right. Right? Doesn't it? It feels right. It feels good to do the right thing. So I started on this, the last man to leave, Sunday night, right? The people, when this thing breaks up, there'll be little groups, right? And some of you will be standing over going, I have no idea how to do that. So I would go join little groups of people. And as they were talking, I would just sit there, and when they laughed, I'd laugh too, right? And then I'd go and no one got to know that I had this commitment. I had to wait until the last 2 people left. If it was 2 intimate people, like sponsee talking or something, I would just hang on and wait, even if it took 2 hours. And I did that for 6 months, right? And I started feeling a part of. I made myself become a part of. Now, this is my first spiritual experience. I remember I met this girl, and we got married 90 days after I met her. I remember I called Earl and I said, Michelle and I are getting married. Earl didn't go, oh. You know what he said? Lori and I were engaged for a year, but good luck, I love you no matter what happens. Right? We're not marriage, family, child counselors, right? What do we know? So that didn't last very long. 20 days later, she left and never came back. And I moved into this house for both of us I didn't have the furniture for. Now, keep in mind, the only thing that I believe in, I believe that he believes. I'm still going to my meetings every day, doing my commitment. I don't believe in any kind of God. I don't believe in, if there was a God, he sure doesn't like me very much. Look at my life, right? You don't have to look very far to see that if there is something, doesn't think much of me. But he believes, okay, I'll do what he did. So she leaves, and I'm sitting in this house. It's a Sunday. There's no work. And there's no meeting to go to yet, and there's no couch. So I'm leaning, I don't have a couch, right? So I'm leaning on this brick wall that separates the living room from the kitchen. And I have cable TV. Because I don't have any sponsees, so I need cable TV, right? And this movie comes on that, you know how we talk about contempt prior to investigation? Like, if this was your regular speaker meeting and the speaker had to sit right here, how you could automatically hate her before you even heard her say a word? What does she know? She doesn't look like she knows how I feel. You know what I mean? And I heard about this movie called The Bucket List, right? Morgan Freeman, Jack Nicholson. And I thought, what a stupid movie. What a dumb premise just to put these 2 actors together. I'll be no part of that. So I'm at home, 20 days she left, and I am in the fetal position, crying, looking. If you ever had your heart broken, and you're looking at, we ate there. She touched that. We made love there. You know, purposely listening to country songs just to make you even sadder, you know. Patsy Cline. So I put on this movie, Bucket List. And between the tears, I'm watching it. And I had my first spiritual experience. The movie, if you don't know what it's about, is Jack Nicholson's character is this tycoon, and he believes in two things, himself and money. And Morgan Freeman is a hard-working, I think he's a post office guy, right? He's a mechanic, and he has a strong faith and a belief in a power greater than himself. And what the movie is about is Morgan Freeman trying to enlighten Jack Nicholson. And I'm watching it here and there, crying, watching. And then I come up and I wipe my tears away, and I see that they're sitting on top of a pyramid. And they talked about ancient Egyptian believed that when you got to the gates of heaven, that you were asked two questions. The first one was, do you think you've ever experienced true joy? And the second one was, do you think that your life has ever brought joy to another person? And at that very moment, I felt this huge hand on my back. And I heard the words, you're okay, and I love you. And I knew that I went through everything that I went through and had my heart broken so I could be in that spot right there in that moment so that I could get God. And that's what happened. And it's got stronger and stronger and stronger since then. And what I know to believe in a power greater than myself is there's no stronger power than the power of gentleness and to be kind and to be loving. And I feel it flowing through all of us right now, the thread of us loving each other. And, right about that same time, I was sitting in that house. It was 100 million degrees, and my phone rang. It was my sponsor. Now, if you're doing eye surgery and your sponsor calls, you put a towel on the head and you answer the phone because it's your sponsor. Now, keep in mind, remember, I have a levy and all that, and I don't know how I'm going to get through, right? And he says, meet me at the corner of Ventura and Reseda. Click. And I'm Forrest Gump. Okay. I just swim on over there, drive my crappy Ford Ranger all dented up that I had to park 2 blocks away so nobody'd see it. It's 100 million degrees. I'm wearing my Carhartts, working at the W Hotel, right? I'm walking up to him, and I'm like, that's my man right there. This guy loved me, never gave up on me, man. Okay, what's up, man? He goes, this is for you. And I'm like, what's that? He says, open it and find out. So I open it. There's a big stack of money. I go, come on, man, I don't want your money. He said, it's not for me. He said, all those people at the Monday night? It says, there's a note. It says, this is an anonymous gift. Keep it or pass it on. He says, those people at the Monday night meeting? The ones you hate, the ones that you think wouldn't pee on you if you're on, remember? They all found out that you couldn't pay your rent, Danny. They found out that you weren't going to make it. They want you to stay. They love you. So they all got together, and a lot of them couldn't afford it, but they got together and they gave you this. So I gave them a quick dude hug because I started getting ready to get emotional. I was holding it back, So I ran off, and I ran all the way to the corner of the parking lot. And when I got to my truck, Earl yelled, Danny, you're part of something now. And the mud that I was holding back, I was like, oh! I got my little Ford Ranger, man. I was like, oh, God. Part of something. Snot just coming down. That kind of cry, the phlegm cry. And I try to start my car. Finally can start my car. I'm parked in the middle of Ventura Boulevard in the middle of the day. Green light. Can't drive because I'm crying so hard. And this woman's next to me. She's like, are you okay, honey? And I'm like, I'm part of something. And I get home. I go into my little tiny apartment with no air conditioning that's now palatial. Right? I take my thing, just like in the county jail, put toothpaste on the corners of it, stick it on the mirror right there. Yes, the mirror gets to stay there because I can stand looking at me because I'm doing the work in AA. I'm doing esteemable acts, so I'm getting a self-esteem. And I look at that, and it shows me you are something. You are part of something. You can do this. You're working towards something. You can make a difference. You can be something. You can have something. And what I want to tell you, why I flew here, is just to tell you that you are part of something too, that you're new here and you think you can't do this, and I'm telling you that you can. Sunday before last, I celebrated 10 years of sobriety. And I give that right back to you, and I give that to you, and I love you so much. I love you, AA. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.